This is not just a story about a man trying to reconnect with his son. This is the prelude to a covert war that will drag the most innocent residents into the crossfire and force us to question everything we know about loyalty, survival, and the hidden agendas of the intelligence community. Let us set the current board and look at where our chess pieces are currently standing. Right now, Jason Morgan has returned to town, declaring his intention to step away from Sonny Corinthos' mob organization to prioritize his son, Danny Morgan. It looks like a noble pivot toward family life. On the other side of the board, we have Ethan Lovett, who recently took a bullet to protect Ava Jerome and subsequently made a delirious, bleeding confession that he is not the biological father of baby Phoebe. Ethan is currently being chased by someone from his past and is desperate to flee quickly. Enter Hudson, the mysterious, highly connected business executive who just arrived in town looking for a specific target, potentially Ethan, Delilah Wilson, or someone tied to Phoebe. These are our players. The board is set with a reluctant mob enforcer trying to go straight, a desperate rogue trying to run, an innocent baby caught in the middle, and a powerful newcomer whose true motives are completely shrouded in darkness. This could lead to our first major future scenario, one where the WSB's grip on Port Charles tightens into a suffocating chokehold. In this path, Hudson is not merely a wealthy corporate executive. He is a high-ranking, top-tier director within the WSB, perhaps even the shadowy mastermind orchestrating the agency's darkest black ops from behind a corporate veil. If that happens, Jason Morgan's strange behavior is instantly explained. He is not a free man. Jason is being blackmailed, coerced, or biologically leveraged to act as Hudson's elite operative. The story could be heading toward a devastating collision course, where Hudson orders Jason to track down the fleeing Ethan Lovett. Why Ethan? Because Ethan holds a secret so dangerous, perhaps tied to Phoebe's true lineage, or a highly classified WSB experiment, that he must be permanently silenced before he can vanish into the international underground. In this future, Ethan realizes the walls are closing in rapidly. He knows that staying in Port Charles is an absolute death sentence, so he makes the frantic decision to take baby Phoebe and run, hoping to protect the innocent child from the agency's ruthless grasp. Jason, bound by Hudson's inescapable leverage and forced to comply to protect his own family, uses his unparalleled tracking skills to hunt Ethan down through the treacherous back alleys and hidden docks of the city. When Jason inevitably discovers Ethan's escape route, he is forced to report the coordinates back to Hudson. The bigger consequence may be that Ethan instantly becomes the target of a massive, lethal WSB strike team. Jason is thrust into an agonizing moral crisis, standing in the pouring rain, watching the tactical teams descend on a terrified Ethan holding an innocent infant. Who benefits here? Hudson and the corrupt faction of the WSB, who maintain their absolute power and silence their loose ends. Who is in danger? Ethan and Phoebe, whose lives hang by the thinnest of threads, completely dependent on whether Jason's suppressed conscience can override his conditioning or the blackmail holding him hostage. But we have to look deeper, because there is a chance that we are looking at a completely different future, one that flips the entire narrative on its head and turns the hunter into the ultimate double agent. In this second scenario, Jason is not a helpless victim of Hudson's coercion. He is playing a highly sophisticated, incredibly dangerous long con game to dismantle Hudson's rogue WSB faction from the inside out. Jason knows that Hudson is using the corporate executive persona to mask a massive intelligence network that threatens everyone he loves in Port Charles. When Ethan grabs baby Phoebe and makes a desperate dash for the city limits, Jason intentionally accepts Hudson's mission to hunt them down. However, he does so to ensure that he is the one who finds them first, intercepting the fugitives long before Hudson's ruthless assassins can ever pull the trigger. If this path unfolds, the story transforms into an intricate, high-stakes spy thriller. Jason corners Ethan in a remote, abandoned safe house on the outskirts of town. But instead of drawing his weapon to eliminate the target, Jason hands Ethan a ghost protocol package, meticulously forged passports, untraceable cash, and a highly secure, heavily guarded extraction route. Jason orchestrates a spectacular fiery explosion at the safe house, staging a flawless fake death for both Ethan and baby Phoebe. He returns to Hudson with the grim, fabricated news that the targets were eliminated in a tragic accident, securing Hudson's absolute trust while secretly keeping the innocent safe. This variation fundamentally alters the landscape of the show. It turns Jason into an autonomous mastermind operating entirely in the shadows, protecting the innocent while feeding the villain exactly what he wants to hear. It sets up a phenomenal ticking time bomb, because if Hudson ever discovers that Ethan and Phoebe are actually alive and well, Jason's entire world will collapse in a devastating instant. Now, let us explore the third future, the most unexpected and chaotic trajectory that almost no one is seeing coming. What happens next may be a twist that redefines the very DNA of these characters and their motivation. What if Hudson's relentless pursuit of Ethan has absolutely nothing to do with global security, stolen files, or WSB state secrets? What if Hudson is actually baby Phoebe's biological father? Imagine the absolute shockwave this would send through Port Charles. Ethan, knowing the horrifying truth about Hudson's psychopathic nature and his twisted plans to mold his biological heir into a ruthless WSB weapon, has been hiding the child all along. Ethan's bleeding confession to Ava Jerome wasn't just a delirious ramble. It was a desperate cry for help, because the real monster had finally arrived in Port Charles to claim what he believes is his. In this wild scenario, Jason is dispatched by Hudson to retrieve stolen property, completely unaware that the property is a human child. Jason corners Ethan, fully expecting to take down a thief, a rogue agent, or a traitor. But in a heart-stopping, emotionally charged confrontation, Ethan reveals the horrifying truth to Jason. Handing Phoebe over to Hudson means condemning the child to a lifetime of torture, psychological manipulation, and endless darkness. Jason, a man who has spent his entire life protecting children like Michael, Morgan, and Danny from the violent, unforgiving consequences of their father's dark worlds, is suddenly paralyzed by the reflection of his own life. The sheer irony of Jason Morgan being ordered to rip a child away from a protector to hand her to a monster would break his stoic facade. This path doesn't just change the plot, it shatters Jason's psychological foundation, forcing him to choose between his own hard-won freedom and the soul of a child he has absolutely no connection to, yet sees his own traumatic history reflected within. If you ask me, looking at all the pieces currently on the board, the path that feels most likely is a brilliant fusion of Jason's unwavering moral compass and his unparalleled tactical genius. I keep coming back to the idea that Jason Morgan, no matter how deeply compromised, blackmailed, or threatened he might be by the WSB and Hudson, will never, ever cross the line of sacrificing an innocent child. The man gave up years of his life, allowed his family to believe he was dead, and endured unimaginable captivity just to protect those he loves. If you ask me, Jason is going to realize very quickly that Hudson is playing a deeply sinister, unforgivable game with Ethan and Phoebe, and he will refuse to be a pawn in the destruction of an innocent life. I believe we are heading toward a scenario where Jason plays along with Hudson just long enough to understand the full scope of the threat and map out the enemy's resources. When the critical moment arrives, when Jason has Ethan and the baby dead to rights with Hudson's elite snipers waiting in the wings for the kill order, Jason is going to turn his gun around. He is going to betray Hudson's orders in a spectacular, violent fashion to ensure Ethan and Phoebe escape into the night. Jason will not become the villain of this story. He will become the ultimate shield. But that shield is going to take heavy, devastating fire. He will deliberately blow his cover, sacrificing his own fragile chance at a peaceful life with Danny to do the right thing and uphold the code he has lived by for decades. But guys, we cannot stop there, because if that happens, the fallout will be monumental, and the ripples will tear through the fabric of the entire city. If Jason actively betrays a high-ranking WSB director like Hudson to save Ethan and Phoebe, what will come after? The bigger consequence may be that Jason instantly becomes the most wanted man on the planet, hunted not by the local police, but by a shadow government with infinite resources, satellite tracking, and armies of lethal operatives. Hudson will not just let Jason walk away with a bruised ego. He will declare open season on Jason Morgan, and by extension, anyone Jason cares about, turning Port Charles into a hunting. Looking ahead, this could lead to a full-scale, catastrophic war spilling into the streets of Port Charles. Sonny Corinthos, who just accepted Jason's departure from the mob, will be forced to mobilize his entire organization, calling in every favor and arming every soldier to protect his former enforcer from Hudson's tactical squads. Anna Devane, as the newly reinstated police chief, will find herself caught in an impossible position between her duty to the law, her complicated history with the WSB, and her deep loyalty to Jason. The story could be heading toward a massive, unprecedented alliance where the mob, the PCPD, and rogue agents have to unite to fight off a corrupt intelligence agency that operates above the law. Ethan and Phoebe might be safe for now, hiding in the wind, but their survival will ignite a firestorm that could burn Port Charles to the ground. The future is wide open, the stakes have never been higher, and the war for the soul of this city is just beginning.
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.